All right, Wednesday evening weather for Weather Geeks time. Hope you have had a good day, everyone. It certainly was another steam bath out there today, and as expected, right on the money with our forecast today, we hit 90 degrees this afternoon for the sixth time this year in 2019. Earlier this season, I was relatively convinced that we were going to have a hard time seeing a lot of 90-degree days because of the very, very wet spring and early summer, but the atmosphere is doing its thing, and we're going to end up at least at average, if not a handful above average for 90-degree days this year. I doubt we see 18 like last year, but with 6 already in the bag, we'll probably see a few more next week. And so we may reach the double digits for 90-degree days once again this year. All right, 90 on the money here. 90 in Akron, 90 in New Philly, it was 89 in Pittsburgh, 93 at Hopkins Airport in Cleveland earlier on today. It was on this date, back in the scorching hot summer of 1936, that we recorded our number one all-time hottest temperature here in our area, 103 degrees. Now, we have not hit 100. We've not seen triple-digit heat officially here since 1988. We've hit 100 or better 6 times in recorded history, and again, the last time was 31 years ago. We had some 98s, at least a couple, I think, in 2012. But we have not hit 100 in quite a while now. All right, radar pretty quiet this evening. It should stay that way for the evening. Some renegade thunderstorms off to our west. You may have seen some pictures and video earlier today of the New Orleans, Louisiana area. New Orleans, great city, but it's below sea level. And as we saw in Katrina back in 2005, too much water here is devastating. Because this city sits below sea level. Now, there's levees to help protect the city, but they can only do so much when you get 7 inches of rain in about 2 hours, like they had this morning. Rainfall rates with this were kind of similar to what they had in D.C. a handful of days ago. It was just remarkable this morning how fast things went downhill in New Orleans. And this is terrible news because more rain is on the way because we have a tropical system on our hands, at least a budding tropical system. This is technically not even a depression yet, but this is over the bathwater of the northern Gulf of Mexico. There's not much wind shear, and so this thing will have very few things standing in its way to develop into at least a tropical storm and perhaps even a low-end hurricane. NHC already has some hurricane watches up for coastal sections of Louisiana, tropical storm watch down into extreme southern Mississippi and the beaches of Alabama and far, far northwestern Florida. If this gets a name, it will be Barry. I shouldn't say if it gets a name. It will get a name. It'll be Barry when this becomes a tropical depression and eventually a tropical storm as we go through the day on Thursday. And again, it may ramp up into a low-end hurricane before making landfall sometime on Saturday, we think. And the most likely area is in Louisiana, but there's still room on the left side of this track for it to make landfall in western Texas. But most likely scenario right now is somewhere in Louisiana. Now, if you have friends and family down in this area, it's not that important, really, whether or not this is a tropical storm or a hurricane when it makes landfall. It's unlikely to be a real strong hurricane, and so the wind issues with this are not likely to be tremendous. This is going to be a big rain problem, though, for parts of the lower Mississippi Valley down towards the Gulf Coast. Here's one model. This is the European model, just one model, but it shows you what potentially could be on the table if it tracks the way the European model expects it to. On top of what they saw in New Orleans over the matter of a couple of hours this morning, there could be another 5, 10, 15, maybe up to 20 inches worth of rain in some parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, southern Arkansas, right up the Mississippi Valley. The Mississippi River has been in flood stage seemingly in perpetuity. It's been, of course, a very wet spring locally, but right down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, it's been a very wet spring. So Mississippi's already running high, and this is really, really bad news. That's going to be the big national weather story over the next handful of days. All right, back here in eastern Ohio, western PA, we may get a shower late tonight, and I can't even rule out a thunderstorm tomorrow morning, but anything that happens tomorrow morning would be kind of garden variety, non-severe. The severe weather risk ramps up, I think, tomorrow afternoon with the approach of our front. Any thunderstorm that gets going tomorrow afternoon could pack a punch, and we do have a severe weather risk for Thursday afternoon. The Storm Prediction Center has most of our area highlighted in the slight risk. That's kind of a 2 on a 1 to 5 scale. Again, that encompasses most, if not all, of eastern Ohio and all of western PA. Wind damage, number 1 threat. Secondary threat, because the atmosphere has so much moisture in it right now, it's very humid, flash flooding. A tertiary threat would be hail. Might see some small hail. Whether we see hail big enough to cause problems, I think that's a pretty low risk. The bigger risks are going to be the wind and the flooding with any thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. All right, so while we're on the subject of storms, haven't talked about this much this year, but of course lightning is exceptionally dangerous, especially in the summer season when a lot of people are outside. And when we have a high risk of thunderstorms in our forecast, you got to stay weather aware. You got to track that lightning. You can do that on your Storm Tracker 21 app. And if you can hear thunder, it's time to get inside, because if you can hear the thunder, you're close enough to be struck by a bolt of lightning. It may surprise you that the number one activity with the most fatalities due to lightning is actually fishing. I thought golf would be higher on this list. Boating I thought would be a little higher, but it's actually fishing in the stats that NOAA provided from 2006 to 2018. Number two is people on the beach, and then camping and farming and ranching kind of a little bit behind there. But yeah, fishing kills more people by lightning annually than any other outdoor activity, at least in the last dozen or so years. 80% of lightning victims are male, 20% are female. So again, stay weather aware tomorrow afternoon. We'll keep you updated, of course, on all our social media outlets and WFMJ.com, as well as the Storm Tracker 21 app. Better things are ahead. I think Friday's going to be a nice day. It's going to be the most comfortable day, I think, of July so far. Dew points are going to come down. Temperatures may not get to 80 on Friday. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds. A beautiful summer evening, Friday evening. And actually a pretty good day coming up on Saturday. This next front will duck in pretty quietly, probably no rain with it, and it will kind of refresh our air mass for Sunday. So I think those dew points will come back down behind that front on Sunday. So kind of a muggy day Saturday. Sunday looks beautiful. Monday warmer, but still not that humid. The humidity will kick in by midweek. We're going to get right back into the kind of air that we had today by the middle of next week. How hot we get next week may depend some on what happens with Barry. If the remnant moisture gets involved in the pattern somehow middle of next week, which is a possibility, that would reduce our chances for high heat. But if we don't see that moisture and the pattern, maximizes its potential, we may, for the first time since 2012, be above 92 degrees for a day or two next week. So some things we don't know yet, but one thing for sure, it'll be really humid and it will be hot. It's just a matter of at this point as to how hot. And if we get some of that remnant moisture from Barry, I doubt it's much of a huge deal by the time it gets up here. Of course, we're not thirsting for any rain around here, but at this point, at this early stage, I don't think what's left of Barry will be too much of a problem for us. That's it for tonight. See you back here for another edition of Weather for Weather Geeks on Thursday evening.